everyone. It's Candace Craw-Goldman, and today I'm going to be speaking with wonderful BQH practitioner, Virginie Lafon from France. And we're going to talk to her in just a minute, but I want to start out by reminding everyone that coming up very soon here in Kansas is the Beyond Quantum Healing Immersion class experience. And this is for people who've already gone through the BQH course, which you still might have time to do if you got right on it, if you haven't already. But the immersion class is for people who've gone through the instructional program of BQH and are interested in getting a little deeper with some of the subject matter, etc. And it's again in-person class here in Kansas. And if you're interested in that, you can head on over to quantumhealers.com/BQH and find out more. Classes from October 2nd through 7th, and it ought to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a great focus on physiology and focused sessions. And then we spend a fun day here out at the farm, our final day. And there's still a few seats left. It's a small class, but there's still a few seats left. So check it out if you are at all interested. Another announcement I want to make is the Quantum Connect course, which I've been working on for quite a while. It just kind of got deeper and a little more, well, tight, let's say, with its presentation and information. It's complete. It's just in its final phases of packaging up, and we're going to have some testers go through it, and it's almost ready to go. And more on that later. And now, after all of that housekeeping, welcome, Virginie. How are you?
Thank you, Candace. Well, I'm okay. I am actually a bit tired. As you mentioned earlier, I'm a new mom, and my baby is almost 16 months old, and I'm not having a lot of sleep. So I'm trying to keep up with my work and taking care of my baby as well, and it's a lot of work. It's quite hard. This is a new life and a really tough one, but so enriching, so interesting as well.
Oh boy, I understand. Of course, I'm a grandma. I'm going to be a grandma for the 4th time coming up in November. But I certainly remember those days. And, you know, it's funny because I'm kind of slipping into it again here with my dad he'll be 92 in 8 days, actually. He'll be 92. And there are times it's like having a 3-year-old. You know,
well, and it's actually taking care of someone full-time job. So yeah, I can understand
it. Sure is. And the only reason I can even spend this time with you, hopefully uninterrupted, is I've got a caregiver upstairs taking care of Dad for a little while we do this. So I understand about that. So I know we're going to talk about a lot of things today, but we've already talked about this idea of motherhood. And well, let's just go ahead and ask this. What about it surprised you? I mean, as you know, coming from the consciousness exploration perspective, the work that we've both done for a number of years, and suddenly you're a mom, how's that changed any of that or your view of motherhood? Or I'm very interested.
Actually, I didn't have any opinion on motherhood before that. It's like I was completely disconnected of motherhood. I didn't know anything about it. I don't have any little brother or sisters. I'm the youngest in my family, so I didn't have to take care of any baby in my life. So it was all new. But something happened that was really deep and really strong, is that when my baby was born, I knew him. I recognized him from other lives, and even talking about it, even now, give me goosebumps again. And it was so strong, that was really shaking me. And I was really emotional even now, I'm still emotional, but for the 3 first weeks, I was so emotional. I was crying. Every time I was thinking of something connected to motherhood, to love, to my son. And I was like, this is not normal. I know that hormones are working in the body, etc., but it was stronger than that. So I tried to take some time and dive into my emotions, and I saw some flashes from other lives, and I was like, okay, we have a lot of past lives together, a lot. And the word I heard in my mind was soulmate. it was really strong when I asked, who is this baby? I heard soulmate. He's a soulmate. And in the same time, I felt a really strong love, like we loved each other for a very long time before this life even began. And also I knew that I remembered some lives where he died in front of me and where I died. And there are so many lives like this. And I know other mom can relate to that, because then I realized that it happened to so many women and men in other lives. And so I have to work on that now, because it's still very emotional, and the fear of losing the baby or just the memory of it still remaining here, and it's not okay. So it is very strong, and this birth also was the birth of a lot of memories. So it's really interesting to see that it happened now, because I'm a young new mom, but I'm not so young. I'm 35, so I'm having my first baby at 35, and I know that the path I went through till now gave me the keys to understand why my baby has chosen me and why he comes now. I couldn't have him before that.
Just it gives me goosebumps too to hear you say that. You know, I know you've probably had sessions with pregnant moms, and other moms have like spoken about babies and babies that they've lost and babies that have come back and rainbow babies, and babies are kind of big in my world and view right now. Maybe that's one of the reasons we've gotten together to talk. You know, one of the first people I got to practice quantum healing on, do a past life regression on, was my own daughter when she was just a teenager, back when I was doing Dolores Cannon's method only. And she was sweet. She had a little trepidation, but it was okay. And she actually asked for it. I've been doing it for a little while. It wasn't like I was brand new, but you know, certainly newer. And it was within the first year probably of me starting to practice. And when she had a session, she only had one question. And, you know, it almost gives me goosebumps, makes me want to cry when I think about it, because she said, I only have one question about to bring to this session. And that is, why am I afraid I'm going to die young? Wow. And you know what, Virginie, she never said that to me before. And this is my teenage child telling me this. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And we do this session, and it ends up, and I think I've mentioned this before in other interviews, so it's not the first time I've talked about it, but she goes into this lifetime where she's this young child who's running away from a man. She's trying to hide from him outside. He catches her. He has his way with her and then kills her. And it was traumatic. But her higher self told her that, you know, she showed her this lifetime because she had a pattern of that, and that she need not worry at all. It's not going to happen in this lifetime, that she was going to absolutely grow into adulthood, get married, and have children of her own. And you know what? It changed her life. It completely changed her life. But the story doesn't even end there. So a few days before I was pregnant with my daughter, I dreamed about a little girl, about 4 years old, who came to me, and it wasn't even a dream. It was something else. It was a psychic experience where she came into the room. Anyway, I'm going to shorten the story to say she came into the room 5 days before I got pregnant with her, because I know exactly the day that I did. And she was crying, and she began to talk to me, but she psychically talked to me about needing a mother, and that she couldn't go back to her mother. And it was very clear that it wasn't that anything had happened to her mother. It was because she had passed on. And she wanted to come back right away, and she was choosing her mother. So it could very well have been the experience that she had as a past life, right? Running away. And so I think we as humans are beginning to understand how these multidimensional, multi-access, multi-live memories are available to us in ways through meditation, through dreams,
Yeah.
and of course through BQH sessions. So
More and more, yeah.
so
And
astonishing. So, now I'm wondering all kinds of things like, did you give him a family name? What does your family think about any of that? Did you share any of that with your family? Would they understand
well,
any of it or listen?
I shared it to my companion, my partner, so my baby's dad. But he listens to me, but he's not really into spiritual things. But he listens to me, and he saw I was really emotional, so he was here. I didn't tell anyone in my family because they are not really open to that, and I didn't feel like sharing it to them. I shared it to some friends, some BQH practitioners, colleagues and friends, but not that much. And I shared it to the people that listen to me on YouTube, for example, the people that follow me, my followers, but not everything, because some of it is really intimate. There's something I wanted to say just earlier, but I forgot about it. What was it? Yes. When I was really emotional, I was remembering all these lives where we were separated, my son and I, and either I was killed or he was killed, etc. And so when I remembered these past lives, I was crying so strong, and I heard a voice that said to me, but now you know why he came back. Now you know why we gave you back to him, or we gave him back to you. And I remembered how it happened when we chose his name. His name is Matthias. And I remember it because it's a really funny story as well. But first, Matthias in Hebrew means gift from God. And this all makes sense because I was like, okay, this is a gift from God that they gave back to me, my son, and now I know he's going to live. I had a complicated birth, and for a second I was afraid that my baby was dying. But then I heard again that voice, he's going to live, we're going to give him back to you, and for good. Now you're going to live together, full life. So the first name, we were looking for names, and I was like, Michael. I like Michael in French. But no, my partner didn't like it. We went through other names, and one day I just came back from another session working, and I was like, what do you think about Matthias? And he said, oh, okay. And a few days later, I was checking on the web, on the Wikipedia, how do you say, the day that you celebrate your name, the saint, Saint Virginia is on January, for example. And I was checking that about Matthias, and Matthias is celebrated on the 14th of May, and the 14th of May was my due date.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, we found his name. And then when he was born, and I was so emotional and checked about the meaning of Matthias, and it is gift from God. And I was like, okay, thank you so much. So it is a real, very strong connection that I'm still working, that it's forcing me to work on my past lives that I was not resolved, that I didn't know about it yet. So it's a lot of work. Being a mom in a real life, and being a mom in a spiritual life.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you for starting off with that story. As long as we're on the subject, because I just talked about this yesterday to somebody that I know here in the local area, and this is an older mom too. She's older even than you, and she wasn't sure she could even conceive a child, and she did, but she lost it very early on, for a number of reasons that, well, let's just say she made sure to change some of the way she was working in the last little bit. She's a massage therapist, and she decided on a different approach to her clientele. Because she had a sense that some of that had something to do with why the energy and the situation didn't work out. with her first pregnancy, but she wasn't sure she was going to be able to get pregnant again.
Mm.
And she found out just the day before she showed up. I happened to actually be somewhere else where she was in this way when she was telling another family member, and it just felt so connected to talk about these babies. But have you found, because I know I have found this, and in case there's some people out there who are really interested in this subject, it has, and I ended up telling my friend this, that about in my own sessions, now this is just in my own practice, but in my own practice, when I had to really kind of think back to it, mothers who have lost babies, and that's by any number of reasons, either, right after they were born, or during pregnancy, or sometimes even terminated pregnancies by their own choosing, right? So there's often mothers want to know about that connection and the soul of that baby, etc. And I ended up saying, the majority of the stories I've had when I've done actual quantum healing sessions with these women have been that the soul comes back, like very quickly, like, oh, okay, it's like false start or whatever. And like the next time they get pregnant, it's the same soul, right? And that a few things shifted, either like, well, maybe, let's try the other sex, or something was an issue with physicality. And here's a really interesting thing, because as I'm having this conversation with my friend, she said, not only did she make changes in the way she worked, but she also completely changed some things about her own physiology. She changed a couple things in her diet. She changed a certain mindset. She changed some exercise and activity patterns. She was healthy, but she just tweaked all of that. And she was feeling pretty good about it, even with her advanced age for wanting to get pregnant. So, she's certainly a young woman, but we know how fertility works. And she said, I think, and she was so excited to have this conversation with me. She said, I think some of it had to do with I had to have a different energy system. My body needed to be different, and my energy system needed to be different. So the baby basically came in and said, hey, get ready. And then, okay, you're not ready yet. And then sat back and then came back again.
I heard that kind of story as well. Yeah, but it was not in my practice, but a colleague, a friend, well, Nina, about Nina, who's a practitioner as well. And I think it was her. She had some story like that. I had some miscarriages in 2016. I had 2 miscarriages actually in the same year. But I don't feel that it was the same soul, and I don't feel that it's the same soul that came back last year when I gave birth to my son. I think it was something else. But yeah, there is definitely some kind of pattern that, well, hey, mom, you have to change something in your body so I can come in.
Well, God bless you for sharing that. I'm sure there are many women out there who are thinking, that they have similar stories. And of course, it doesn't always have to turn out to be that way. Another thing that we learn, even in these pregnancies, that mamas who very much want their babies, sometimes the soul comes back and says things like, well, I just wanted to be physical for the really short bit of time and not the whole thing. I didn't want to be there the whole time and do an actual life. And often, and again, I've done a number of these over the years. What I have found, some of those souls who say, because I've never even been physical before, or I've never been human before, or I didn't know what the third dimension and how dense it was going to be. And I just wanted a little taste of it.
Yeah, just dipping a toe in. And that's enough.
And it doesn't change the sadness of the event and the loss. Please know that I'm certainly not trying to minimize that for anybody out there who may be listening. But I think sometimes it might give somebody a comfort for kind of a reason, like, why did this happen to me? Or
especially for miscarriages, and amongst other topics, but miscarriages, we never really know why it happens, if it's our fault, if it's something else. So it can give a sense, it can give an explanation as to why it has happened.
Super. Well, I was already sort of thinking, in the time we have together, we've already talked half of it about babies. I was thinking, well, the title of this show is almost certainly going to be Babies and Dragons, right? So,
Yeah.
so let's shift gears, but let's shift gears with a little transition. Is there anything, not that there needs to be, or I expect you to say it, is there anything with Matthias and dragons that have come up?
Sure. Of course.
Well, what an excellent transition.
Yeah, so much information came through when I gave birth to him, and even before, when just before I knew I was pregnant. So 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago today, I didn't know yet I was pregnant, but I was having the symptoms. But in the same time, I was really scared, so I didn't want to know about it, and I was just living the symptoms. And few weeks before that, I went to Scotland. I went to Edinburgh to spend 5 days with my partner, and I knew that the baby would come at that moment. I knew that the baby would be conceived at that moment, because it's been a few years. I knew I was going to be a mom around 35 years old. And yeah, I said before I was 35, but no, I was when I gave birth, when I conceived. Now I'm older, still 35 in my mind, maybe. But anyway, we were in Scotland, and I knew intuitively that the baby would come at that moment. I knew that we had to go there for that. We were called to go there. I love this country, and I really feel called to go there. I've been there a few times, and I feel home when I'm there. And I went to this esoteric shop, and I saw these little eggs. I'm going to show you this.
Oh, I'm not.
It's very simple, it's just pins.
Don't set it down. Don't set it down, because I actually want to do this. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
It's very simple, it's just some pins that are put in an egg. And we went to that shop, and I saw that one. I was like, I have to buy it. Don't know why, but I have to buy it. And I came back to France with it, and I put it on my near my bed, and I didn't think about it for a few days. And then I took it in my hands, and I talked to him, and I said, okay, so who are you? Why are you here? And I know that there is a dragon that was with me a few months before that, and I know that she was a female. I felt like she was an icy dragon, kind of this color. And she appeared in my mind, and she just said, "This is your baby." Okay. And I felt like she was blowing into that egg.
Yeah.
And she was like explaining to me that it was like putting energy into that egg, and that egg is just a representation. It's just, pins in a plastic thing. But it was like a symbol that she was putting the energy into the matter, into my body, or into that egg. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, put it down, breathe a second. And then a few days later, I had the pregnancy test, and it was positive, and I felt like this is this baby. And I asked her in my mind, so is my baby going to be a dragon? And she said, of course, you know about it. You knew about it before. And so that brings us before, like maybe 2 years before that, I had a BQH session with Nina. And as I knew that there was this little soul waiting for me, I connected to that soul, and I asked him, are you going to be my son? Because I knew it was going to be a boy. And he said yes. And I told him, are you a dragon? And he said, of course. If I wasn't, I couldn't go close to you.
I kind of figured you were going to say that.
And this is all so magic, because even this morning or yesterday, I don't know, I had a session, and the client just channeled the information that baby dragons or baby human dragons can only incarnate with mommies that are connected to dragons as well. Yeah, it's like a big family. So dragons' energy can only come with humans that are connected to dragons as well. So yeah, it's a very strong story as well. So we are both dragons. We share this strong energy, and apparently that's what makes my baby really a small sleeper. I don't know if you can say that he sleeps not so much. I don't sleep much at night because baby dragons really need to be physical. They need to be anchored. They need help to incarnate inside the body, inside the human body.
As a young mom, I didn't envy other women for things or jobs or looks or anything. But when they would say, oh, yes, my child sleeps through the night, I just used to think, oh, what is that like? What is that like? And interestingly enough, my daughter's 3 children, she still does. Last thing she says about sleep is she says it's been 9 years since she slept through the night because she's on her 3rd kid. None of them do. The youngest is 4 now, and she's hoping it's going to come soon. But yeah, we tend to have some of us moms tend to have those kinds of offspring.
Yeah.
So you've been working with dragons for quite a while, and you've got some projects dragon centered for sure. I know you want to talk about.
Yeah, well, I've been working with dragons through BQH and first QHHT. I started first with QHHT. So dragons started to show up really early in my work. I mean, I finished the course, the QHHT course in spring 2017, and dragons started to show up in August 2017. And then it went really quick, really fast, and more dragons came to the sessions. They came through my clients. More and more of my clients were connected to dragons. Either they knew about it or not yet. So it was so strong that I was really surprised. And I asked my colleagues, is this normal? Do you also have a lot of dragons in your sessions? Do you also have a topic that comes back and back? And they all said no and no. They don't have any dragons, or really few, and there is no topic that was repetitive like this. So I was starting to wonder and telling myself, okay, maybe I have something to do about it. Maybe I have a job to do. And I was it took me sometimes to accept it, because my mind was not accepting and was just thinking that I want to be like Dolores Cannon. I want to be an investigator, and this is just my mind saying that I have to do something with dragons. But no, just I had to remember that I am a simple practitioner, etc. So I wanted to stay humble, and I hope I still am. But then I had to just acknowledge that dragons came through more and more. Like now it's 95% of my sessions are dragon-centered. So I wrote a book in 2018. Well, it was published last year when my baby was born. The book was born as well. So I had 2 babies at the same time, the book and my son. And it's a book in French at the moment, but I would really love to have it translated. So I'm looking for a way to have it translated in English, because I have more and more people asking me for sessions in English, more and more people asking for dragons, having a connection with dragons. This is a topic that is not yet really common. So there are not a lot of information yet on the internet. And I thought there would be more information maybe in America or in English, but actually it feels like there is not much yet. So I want to do the job, but there is so much to do, and being a mom takes me so much time that English, well, the part in English I want to do is not going as fast as I would like. But the book in English is my next project. Yes, I want to have it translated.
Do you have a book right there with you? Can we see the cover at least? You got to do
that. Yes. Just a second.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh,
so this is.
Oh, it's just up there.
take your time. I should have asked you before we got started, but yeah, you can't talk about a book without. Oh my gosh, and look how thick it is already. My gosh, how many pages is it?
It's 444 pages exactly. It was
No way.
completely coincidence. It's not doing
No
done on purpose.
coincidence. And those are some of my favorite repetitive numbers. Okay, I'm going to take another picture too, because this is too cool. I kind of like these pictures of, put your face in there so I could see your face too. There you go. Perfect. All right. I love it. I love it. Wow. Well, let me just say congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done. I keep trying to be one of those people who will hold up a book someday. The one thing about having an elderly person is he's only going to end up probably being more like a toddler and not less. At least your child hopefully is going to get more independent. But it's someday, some point, I hope to join you. But congratulations.
Thank
How
you.
absolutely amazing. I'm really impressed at the thickness of it. So did you follow the traditional sort of Dolores Cannon format and do transcripts, or how's your book laid out?
Well, at first I wanted to have it I forgot the word in English. Gardeners. Which of the Dolores books is Gardeners?
Convoluted Universe, or
no. Anyway, there was a book I really loved about Dolores. I just forgot the name, and I wanted to do the same thing. It's where she's with Phil. In the 90s, she's with Phil.
So the Custodians.
Yes, Custodians, probably, yes. And I wanted to have it a bit like that. So at first, actually in August 2018, I met during a session, comment session. I had this young man coming to me, and he was not really into dragons. He actually was not really into spirituality. He was here because a friend of his offered the session to him for his birthday. And in the end, he just asked this question, well, if I have a dragon, I want to know about it. So we went for the session, and it was so awesome. It was really strong. And this young man, so he's Simon, in the book he's called Simon, and he just channeled his dragon, and the dragon came through him. It was so strong. I had goosebumps. He was crying. It was emotionally intense, and he was moving his arms like he had wings. So strong. So at the end of the session, I heard this voice in my head that said, it's the good person, ask him for doing some other sessions with him. And I asked him, he was okay, and we had this job where we had session for over a year.
Wow. So he lived nearby, and you managed to make.
Yeah, we had in-person session. He was in my town. We had in-person sessions, and for over a year we had 12 sessions, one each month, and each session is in the book. So at first I wanted to do like Dolores and put the session in the book and my side of the story. But at the end of the first session, Simon spontaneously wanted to write the session himself when he heard the recording. So he just wrote it down. He just wrote everything. And he sent it to me, and he said, I felt like putting my comments and saying about how I felt and how I lived it. And I read it, and I was like, this is fantastic, because we have
You wrote the book for us.
Yeah, he actually wrote the book for me, because I couldn't do it. I don't have enough time these days.
Yeah.
So he wrote the book, yes.
Wow.
And he also told about my side of the story, and because some of the sessions were about me sometimes, so it talks about me, it talks about him, he talks about how it touches him in his personal life, how it helps him in his life to connect with dragon, but also to have this kind of sessions, to have a quantum hypnosis. So it's a fantastic book that talks about dragons, but that talks also about spiritual development and how it can help anyone in the day-to-day life. And yes, he wrote it for me.
That's amazing. Where can I find somebody like that?
I asked for it just a few weeks before. I was in England with my friends, and I was talking to them about my work with dragons, and they were like, you have to write a book, you have to do like Dolores Cannon. And I was like, no, I'm not Dolores Cannon, I can't do this. But somewhere inside of me, I was like, oh, I would love that. So
Sure.
I said to the universe, if this is my path, send me the right person. And when I came back from my vacation in England, first session in August was Simon.
Wow. What a magical set of events. I love it. So Virginie, for those people who are listening, who really are, let's say, maybe they're first learning about all this stuff and regression work and consciousness exploration and quantum healing and all things, of course, Dolores Cannon. But maybe they don't understand the dragon part of it. Maybe they're like, well, aren't dragons supposed to be scary? Or, you know, what are some of the stories or some of the things that you would like to tell them that maybe some of your other clients have learned about their dragon connection, why it's important, why it's coming to light now, and, you know, the benefits maybe, huh?
Yeah, that's a really vast subject. There's so much to tell, but to make it short, I really quickly found that there are two kinds of connection to dragons that are really strong. People that have this kind of connection, they feel it's inside of them, that because they just love dragons, not knowing where it comes from, but they love dragon. So first category would be what I call the dragons that are incarnated in a human body. And the second category would be what I call dragon riders. So first category are people that have had past lives as dragons, because dragons do exist. Not here and now with us, but they have been here on Earth with us, and they are everywhere in the universe, other planets, other dimensions in the universe, in so many dimensions, maybe every dimension except ours, obviously. But some of the dragons have chosen to incarnate into a human body as the volunteers. This is actually meeting what Dolores says about the volunteers. She mostly talks about ETs, but dragons in a way are ETs as well. And they also chose to incarnate here to help people and help her Earth in this ascension. The other kind is dragon riders. So those people are not dragons. They are mostly humans or ETs, but they have a very strong connection with at least one, or maybe several dragons. It's not a connection like anyone could have. A dragon rider is connected to his dragon by the soul. I mean, they could be the same person, but they're not the same essence. This is also a very, very strong connection because they have so many past lives together. They are going through the infinite time together. And when now in this current life, when a human is connecting, when a human is remembering this connection to his dragon, it's like remembering a part of you that you have forgotten, but that was here. Like you remember you have an arm, and when you see it, you say, well, it's obvious, it's here, but you spent all your life not seeing your arm. So it's very strong connection. Dragons do exist, and they're not the bad creatures that religion is telling us they are. It's actually the opposite. And religion is one of the, this is a really complex subject, but dragons have been chased and tortured when they were here on Earth with us, because they are mighty and powerful, and they were masters, and bad people wanted to have the power that dragons have. So they ended up chasing dragons, torturing them, and most of the dragon had to leave, had to flee. And religion was part of those who wanted the power as well. So this, no wonder that dragons are seen now as bad creatures, but actually they are masters in love.
Well, what a wonderful, amazing summary. So what are some of the, I'm remembering, I haven't had not near the kind of sessions that you've had, but I do remember having one session with that's coming to mind right now, a memorable session with somebody who was connected to a dragon, and they were doing a lot of this on the bed, and then it ended up being sensations in the shoulder blades of the connections of the wings. I wonder if you've ever had anything like that, or like, you know, they have some issue with their shoulders or their backs or their shoulder blades.
I had a lot of people, yes, feeling the wings in their back or the tail. Sometimes they can feel the tail. And just a tip, if anyone watching the video is feeling the tail of a dragon at the bottom of their back, just use it to anchor. This is a strong tool to anchor. Yeah, I had a lot of people having these sensations, and as well myself didn't really have those, but I had one that that is a nice story to tell. My first session with a client that is connected to dragons, so back in 2017, I had my first session in QHHT, and it was quite common. And then one day I had this young man saying that he wanted to have more information about the dragons he was connected to. I was like, dragons? Okay, well, let's see. I actually really loved dragons myself because I love reading books about fantasy, dragons, etc. But I didn't really know about dragons in the spiritual realm. So we went to the session, and at a moment he told me that dragons were drawing something on his forehead. And at this really same moment, I was feeling a really strong sensation on my forehead, like someone was putting his finger here. And you know this kind of sensation, I'm sure you had some. And it was so strong that I had to look in the mirror to see if something was not on my forehead. And I was, no, okay, there's nothing. So I know that at that moment, it was a reconnection for me. Sure. And then the session with dragons just came more and more.
So magical. So how about this? You know, we do these sessions, these quantum healing sessions for healing or to help improve people's lives. Can you give us a little taste of that? How have people who've had these sessions, who've learned about their dragons, how's that helped them in their practical everyday life?
Well, as I said, you know, it's like remembering a really important part of yourself. It seems like it's not really important for us in the day-to-day life because dragons are so far away, etc. But it's actually a really important part in our multidimensional being. And of course, then in the day-to-day life as well, because we feel more and more confident, we know ourselves, we can understand better some things and the way we react, etc. Some people have told me that they felt more and more confident, that it was like feeling more complete. And for example, yesterday and the day before that, I had two sessions that were really similar. And you know, this kind of session when you have a week that is on the same pattern.
Yes. Just so happened to me, just my last two sessions, exactly.
Yeah, well, same week. Well, yesterday and the day before that, two women on the verge of doing some other job, and they were wondering if energetic healing was the right way for them. And they went back to a life where they were dragon riders, and they had to make peace with that life because they saw their dragons suffering. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't help the dragons. So the dragons either died or had to leave, and they died as well, feeling powerless, feeling guilty, etc. And they had to heal that to regain and to take back their power, the power for healing. Dragons told them that they forgave them, that everything was okay, and that they are loved, etc., etc. And at the end of the session, they really felt that, yeah, healing was the right path for them, and now they have healed, you know, the little thing that was missing for them. So sometimes, you know, it can be, you can have an issue in the day-to-day life, and it can go back to a life with dragons. You would never think of it. But it can help in any way, in so many ways we cannot even think about it.
There's so many more connections to these sessions than you might think. My last session, which was that yesterday, day before, I don't know, time, you know, when the woman came up out of it, she said, my gosh, that was kind of like going to Wonderland, because there was just so many things happening. But as we were kind of debriefing and talking about the session, the synchronicities, even that had happened just leading into the session that she didn't quite see. And I'm like, well, and then there was this that you told me, and then there was this in the session. She's like, I didn't even realize it. And then as soon as she got up, she said something and something else, and I made the connection there. And it's like opening your eyes to some of these connections where you kind of think of things as being very linear or very straightforward or practical, or not practical, because I like that word, more regular or more regimented. And really the connections, they're a lot deeper, I think, sometimes.
And that's where the practitioner is important, because we have an outside look. So we remember that at the beginning of the session, the person would have said that word, and that word specifically would come back in the middle of the session, etc., etc.
Exactly.
Yeah, and when we have sessions that, you know, as we were saying, patterns week, I don't know if you could say that, I like to say to my clients that the day before that I had a session, the same theme, the same pattern, so because it helps them validate what they had.
Yeah, this isn't dragons, but it is about riding a big animal. Let me tell you, just my last two sessions were, both of them had, they were both women, both coming into a scene that looked like a vortex or a cone, both of them coming into a place where there was horses, both of them coming into a place where there was horses, but not a lot of greenery. It was like either a desert or just dirt, right? And how interesting is that? So cones, vortex, horses, dirt, but it gets even more interesting. This second one, while it was happening at the same time, I had some people moving some dirt off of a paddock for one of my horses to be able to stand on dirt only because he couldn't be on the grass. And that's a whole nother long story. But the connections, the energetic connections like that, they're just undeniable. You just, you know, you cannot keep using the word coincidence about how all of this works. And once you start opening up to it, and when I say opening up to it, that means even just like reading about it or thinking about it. You don't actually even have to do sessions to watch this stuff start to come into your life, but having sessions, of course, is a great way of doing it.
Yeah, because it makes things even more obvious.
Yeah.
Having those sessions and being practitioner, you can see that from an outside look, and it's really wonderful. I love that.
Well, we're kind of coming up against the time limit I've got today. Thank you so much for spending this hour with me this morning.
Thank you.
Can you hold up your book again and tell people how to find that and how to find you? And, you know, it's interesting because I'm going to mention it again. Virginie's one of the people who helps me translate English into French for BQH. So how fun is this? Oh, how beautiful. Look at that. And how can people find?
So this book is only in French at the moment, and you can find it on Amazon, for example, or every platform you can buy books online. The title in English would be a Dragon Rider's Chronicles.
Oh, I love it.
Chroniques d'un dragonnier. And the white dragon is the main dragon that we're speaking to during all the sessions. 12th session, he's always there. And the little guy there is Simon.
Yeah.
So it's a client.
Oh, how wonderful. Can I see the back of the book?
Yeah, sure. There I am.
Oh, how amazing. Oh, I love it. I love it so much. Okay, well, thanks again. And you can find both Virginie and me on quantumhealers.com. And you can do this work too if you want. Just check us out, quantumhealers.com/BQH. Thanks, Virginie.
Thank you very much, Candace. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Bye.